Have you ever wondered what it is that determines how you do the things you do? Why do you stay in a relationship? Why do you leave? Why do you hate a certain group of people? It is all fascinating, but there are people who actually study this type of thing. They will even go as far as telling you that you broke up with that guy because he was wearing a condom. I know it sounds crazy. Stay tuned. It's a good one. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Relebogile Mabotja podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you can stay tuned and be the first to find out when new conversations come out. I'm so excited for today's guest because this man has not only met Jay-Z and Beyonce, he also got turned down by Oprah Winfrey. I'm talking about the one and only Timothy Maurice Webster.
You know what's crazy about this Beyonce? So she kissed me on this cheek.
And you haven't washed your face since.
I'm sure you've wondered why I don't let you close to this side.
Oh, is that why?
Yeah.
And you haven't washed your face since?
No. I mean, not this side. So if I break out, don't stress.
Can I just ask a real question, though? Is it true there's a rumor that the breath is not breathing there?
I don't know. It's funny. I wasn't even a big fan of, I respect Beyonce for what she's been able to accomplish, but she's not, savvy.
Oh, you mean business-wise?
No. Personality-wise. She's like Southern comfort. She's just a good girl.
Yes.
Jay-Z is a savvy street dude in the relationship. So I just, I respect her as an artist.
Yeah.
But I wasn't a big fan till I met her in person.
Because the aura.
Dude, let me tell you, she has this thing that you just can't teach. Some people, you have a thing. When you are communicating to people on air, you can't teach that stuff. You can't go to school for certain things. And she just had that thing. And you just realize there's some people born different.
So how and why did Oprah Winfrey turn you down?
So I got a chance to meet her. She was here for a tour she was doing. And there was about 7 of us got a chance to meet her, which was hilarious because one of the 7 was a massive fan, and she was shaking. She was and they kept giving us a countdown. Oprah will be in 5 minutes.
Yes.
Oprah will be in 30 seconds. And this girl starts shaking. And when Oprah walked in, she was, "Hello, everyone." And then this girl touches Oprah on the shoulder and faints.
Sounds like a very South African thing to do.
Yeah, but also, people touched Michael Jackson and fainted. People touched Jesus, and they were like, if I could just touch the hem of his garment. We like to be close to people. Turns out this girl had experienced a lot of the trauma that Oprah had experienced.
Wow.
So it was deeper. But in all of that, I kept saying to myself, I was writing my second book, Personovation, which I'm very proud of that. It's like personal innovation. How do you reinvent yourself when you've outgrown what you're known for? That's what that book was about. And I wanted her to write a foreword. And I went all confident. I was like, Oprah, you don't know it, but one day you're going to write a foreword to my book.
Yes.
And she's like, you don't know it, but I don't write forewords. And she walked away.
Did she at least tell you why she doesn't write forwards for people?
She walked away, and I had that moment where I was just like, wah, wah, wah. And then she came back. And what she told me changed my life. She said to me, tell me more about the book. And she says, I don't write forwards because if people don't like me, they won't read it. And if people are big fans, they may ignore who you are.
Oh.
And it made complete sense. And then she said, my friend Naomi Campbell is going through that. She's no longer who she was, and she needs to reinvent herself. And she's like, there's a lot of value in this concept once I unpacked the book. And she was like, don't push this thing. She said, push this thing hard. She got her team member to give me some details and say, contact these people.
Wow.
So what she actually ended up giving me was far more valuable than a forward because it taught me to stand on my own and not necessarily need to be connected to other people.
So if you're wondering why I have a random American dude on the show, this is a person who is behind so many well-known brands, but more importantly, and this is the part of your work that I love, is your special interest in human behavior and how it connects to neuroscience.
Yes.
But before we get to all of that, we ain't broadcasting in no New York. We right here, Mzansi. How did you come here? What brought you?
Yes. You know,
Was it the African hips?
Exactly. It's a simple thing. It's a simple story. We can move on to the neuroscience. No, for real. It was like, it's my best friend at home is like a version of you. It's like a radio personality, TV. You ever heard of Tabitha Brown?
Yes, Tabitha Brown.
So Tabitha,
big curly hair, big personality,
big
super
LA,
talented.
Yeah, written a bunch of books, TV. So she used to intern with us.
Oh.
So my best friend, his name is Buster Brown, Menard Brown. Shout out Menard. So Menard and I, while she was interning, we had these two girls who were studying in the States, ask him to come host a fashion show.
Yes.
And he would always drag me everywhere because I would go on to his show when his co-host was traveling. His co-host was like a popular comedian. And so whenever he was traveling, he would call me and like, yo, let's come talk smack.
Yes.
Talk smack. And so I didn't even have a name. I would just call Buster's boy.
Yes.
So these two girls were like, why don't you come host and bring your boy? And one of them was a South African girl.
Aha.
And so we started hanging out, playing pool, and she just kind of had a different kind of fineness. Like South African fine is a different fine. It's like, I love my sisters in America, and I don't want to get canceled for this. But there's this sense of this individuality in America, American women, that sometimes supersedes the we. And I find that whenever I engage like a South African woman, they still consider what we are, not just what I am in the dynamic.
Can I be the defender of American sisters?
Sure.
And say, I completely understand, especially with where we are in the political landscape, now that so many issues out of America are coming out with social media and how connected we are. The individualism makes complete sense. It's rooted in white supremacy and capitalism, whereas as Africans, the concept of Ubuntu, and I know it's like that term that everybody uses, but the whole idea of doing things as a community is still rooted in our DNA, whether we like to or not. I'm pretty sure every successful individual that you see has a massive black tax bill that they're not doing because something's going to happen to them if they don't, but because that is what they are called to do, is to take care of one another. So I just think you like being taken care of.
I understand it. You're right. I mean, I understand the dynamic. I mean, the prison industrial complex in the States where black men have just been taken off the market, they've had to fend for themselves. I get that. I think the softness in the we is a very powerful weapon. Like, I find a lot of South African women still feminine and powerful. And there's something extraordinary about it. And it's not being anti-American, none of that stuff. Like, I love my sister. My mother is an American woman. Like, and she has that dynamic of being soft and strong. And this new generation, I find that they're feeling like they have to fend for themselves, and I get that. I'm just telling what I met and how I ended up here.
Also, it was pre-BBL era, so you knew it was all natural. It was all natural. So you've been in the country how long? Because I want to be able to really give the context of why some of the questions I'm going to ask you, you have authority to speak on.
So I first came here to visit. So I've been in and out for many years. So I first came here for the very first time in it's been about 20 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the first time, 05, 06, started coming here to visit, and I've just been traveling back and forth. So even now, I spend probably 60% of the year here.
Thank you for allowing us to fly you first class.
Yeah.
On the RM podcast jet from private plane from the US to come here. Yeah. One of the things that I love about your mind, and I think because I'm also such a curious person, is you specialize in branding, but yours goes levels deeper than that. So I'm going to use you as the first example. What does all black represent?
Simplicity. It's like Steve Jobs only wore black shirts.
Yes.
And we call it second brain design. So if I don't have to, you'll mostly see me in black and white. And if I don't have to look for clothes, I can use that what we call cognitive energy.
Yes.
Like in the mornings when you wake up, if you imagine you're holding a bottle of water, every decision you make that requires effort, you're taking some of this out. So if you don't have to think about what you're wearing, then you can preserve that energy for other things like innovation and ideas. I write somewhere between 500, 700,000 words a year. I'm churning out work. And how would I know that? A column is 1,500 words for a publication, you know, an article, a book. I write for a lot of publications as I'm thinking for people, alongside people, collaborating. So I try to preserve energy. And so you don't have to be thoughtful about those things. You do whatever you want to do, but that's my model.
I got you. This is why, guys, women's labor. We're choosing outfits and lipstick colors, which made me remember, what was that lady, Elizabeth somebody, who was a con in the US, but she also followed the model of the billionaires where you wear the Steve Jobs sort of look. I can't remember her name. Her name is Elizabeth somebody. I'll put a link in the comment section. Sure. But I've noticed, and maybe you can help me understand, why are there so few billionaire status women in the world that we can name them? We know them off the top of our minds. And let me actually go as far as saying self-made.
You know, I just came back from the Ivory Coast. I spent time in Abidjan, and there is a place there that you would die for called the Bushman Cafe. And they offer residencies for artists and creators to come and just find their instinct. And they don't charge. It's just like a handshake agreement. People come from all over the world. I met this random Ethiopian girl that was there named Johanna. Shout out to Johanna. And inside of this residency is a museum that goes back close to 4,000 years of art. And he was talking about the different phases of when women had power and when women had all the wealth, where you had the billionaire women. And it's just systemic. The systems are designed. If a woman gets pregnant, she gets removed out of the system while the male counterpart continues to push forward. It's starting to change a little bit where, you know, paternity and maternity leaves are, you know, simultaneous, but the dynamics around the competitive pace and how systems reward male achievement versus female are rewarding. It's a systemic design, but it's starting to change. You're starting to see, like Bumble founder, like she came out of the Tinder. She was one of the Tinder, but she ended up becoming a billionaire based on found him, you know, so she's self-made. So it's starting to change, and it's fun to watch the change and I remember when Kanye Dlomo started Destiny, I started to see then in South Africa.
Yeah.
We traveled this country, we're all over the country. I met people every city. We were out in Limpopo, everywhere, meeting female entrepreneurs, and you're starting to see. I just interviewed 30 women across South Africa for this project, and you hear an extraordinary stories. So the system is starting to change, and women are stepping up to the plate.
You have, you know, assisted so many different types of powerful executives and leaders, not just in terms of from a branding perspective, but just from how they position themselves from a reputation perspective. And the word thought leader, you know, is used so often. And I still haven't found somebody who's given me an answer that tells me. I know how to recognize a thought leader, but, you know, what is a thought leader?
It's typically someone who's thinking about a subject more than someone else. And so you're thinking about media more than me. You're thinking about a lot of stuff more than me. But I'll bet you I'm thinking about neuroscience more than you.
But, okay, let me play devil's advocate. An alcoholic's thinking about alcohol.
So there's it's like a thought leader. I mean, yeah, beyond the thinking, obviously you would have some training. So
yes.
I spent a couple years, 2 years at MIT studying applied neuroscience and so forth. So sometimes there's some training, sometimes it's self-taught. I mean, I know thought leaders who are self-taught. They just spend time in the lab, you know, and figure it out. And I'm really torn at times. Some of the most successful people have dropped out of school, and they've just had a passion for something, and they build themselves up in it. Some of the greatest TED Talks are from people who just dropped out of school and decided, I'm going to focus on this thing. So you've got all types of thought leaders. I don't particularly enjoy the label or care about the label. People call me that because they've seen me writing columns in Forbes and all these publications over the years. So I've kind of been putting out content in publications, and that path has kind of given me that label.
In terms then, and the reason I ask this is because I feel like with how media has evolved and we're all our own broadcasters now, there's so many people that, I'm following that I see in my timeline who I would consider thought leaders because they have spent so much time deconstructing, reconstructing. I mean, there's a guy I follow, and I'm mentioning his race because it's relevant, but he's a white American guy whose entire platform is dedicated to ending white supremacy. But the way he does it is not like, let's find who the Ku Klux Klan members are or anything like that, but is how he continuously shares information of, actually, you must know that as white people, we didn't even know how to preserve food. We discovered that through India and the spice trade, or we didn't even know how to clean ourselves. We were introduced to hygiene, and these are, so he speaks about stuff like that. And I'm curious, where do you think the concept of thought leadership or leadership is going to be in the next 10 years, considering it's pretty much anybody's game? You don't have to be a C-suite executive because you're the founder of some big company that people now need to listen to you speak.
Yeah, you've got two verticals or two kind of paths. You're going to always have the Harvard Business School guys who have a lab that are studying subjects very deeply. And then you're going to always have a Matlali.
Yes.
Who is looking at makeup in ways that people underestimate people like that. I never underestimate someone who achieves some level of success. They're thinking about things and they're intimate with subject matter at a level that most people aren't. And yes, you could just be fine and cool. Somebody like my boy Fazile, he's on this top billing. We play basketball together.
Oh, the doctor.
Yeah, the doctor.
Hi, doc.
Yeah. He's thinking about these things. We've had conversations about media. It's not just random. And I love watching patterns of success. So if those patterns of success and a guy who's obsessed over showing how white Americans are, didn't come up with certain things and how Africa has a voice and a place in a world that's pioneering, that's beautiful. So you're always going to have both sides. I love having a foot in both sides. I love speaking to my academic friends and colleagues like Dr. Tara Swart, give a shout out. She really helped change my life into neuroscience. She's got the #1 or #2 most popular episode on Diary of a CEO. And I'm so proud of her. She was on my podcast the first time, Brain and Brand Show. And she was so nervous about media. And now she's taken over. But I'm mentioning her because she was well known for the academic world, but now she's killing it in the social media world. Her Instagram, when we met, she had like 200 people. Now she's got, I don't know, probably 500,000 or whatever. But the point is that some people will be both, some people will be one or the other. But you cannot underestimate the social media power of voices anymore.
So I will put a link down below so you can actually check out Timothy's books and podcasts as well. We're not going to get to all his credentials. We have matters of international importance to discuss. And the reason I ask that is because, and I don't know if you sometimes are finding yourself, so I find myself where sometimes I feel worried for our future because of what we see happening in the world, where it looks like evil prevails and we're not getting our comic book ending where Superman is still alive. You're like, oh, okay, so the evil villain is still succeeding and winning. And then I have moments of hope when I interview like a young kid or have a young person on my radio show who I'm like, oh my gosh, this new generation is so open-minded. They're asking questions. They're not accepting things as they are. Where do you find yourself in this moment in terms of the fear of what the future might look like, but also the fact that there is that hope of what is coming after us?
I mentioned earlier that I get a chance to interview people, and like Rafilwe, who is South Africa's first black commercial and helicopter pilot, black female. And she has this school for teaching young black girls to be pilots. And when I hear stories like that, or hear a story from another young woman who is one of South Africa's only sort of pediatric oncologists, I realize that there are so many people outside of our algorithms doing extraordinary work. Our algorithms blind us to the broader dynamics happening in society. Yes, there are problems, but they're amplified in an algorithm. They're amplified in our timeline. They seem explosive. Meanwhile, there are 70% of the population's out there just doing regular work. Just out there at the hospital, day in and day out. Like a friend of mine who's he's a neurosurgeon. And he was telling me, he, for me, exemplifies. He's like South African colored guy from PE, wears an earring, and he's a neurosurgeon. And he was telling me how recently he had to work on a guy that had been drinking too much. And he had an accident and ended up getting into a fight and just had his head bludgeoned. And I was thinking about, you got that bludgeon story is going to be all over social media, but the neurosurgeon won't.
That saved his life.
Exactly. And so for me, I like to look at both sides. Yes, you've got the chaos and the drama, but you got so many people out there just doing incredible work. So I'm hanging my hope on this other side.
What is currently on your algorithm when you log on to social media? Because I feel like it's probably as random as mine.
Yeah, it's funny. It is random. Right, I'm a sneakerhead. Like, people don't expect.
Really? I know he's a sneakerhead.
Let me tell you what's funny. Let me give you some random stuff that you're not expecting.
Okay.
One of them is battle rap.
That I can believe because of how intellectual.
These guys
battle
are
rap
hectic. One of my favorite is a guy named Clips, Charlie Clips. You may know him from that crazy what's this Black American show? Nick Cannon has.
Yes, Wild and Out.
Wild and Out.
Yes.
He's on Wild and Out and those guys. So I went recently down a deep dive on these guys' wordplay. The wordplay. So I've got.
Wait, is he the one who goes to the crowd and says, "Name a word, name a color"? Is that the one?
No, that guy is. I can't remember his name, but he's also really good. And there's a whole new crop of these battle rappers coming up. But I enjoy, as a speaker, this is why I watch them. I enjoy. It's the same thing happened with Barack Obama. Barack Obama used to be a horrible speaker, but his consultants sent him to spend time with Black American preachers to understand the rhythm and connecting with audiences.
Oh.
That's how he became a good speaker. And so one of the things I do is I watch these kind of, like, these external kind of realities no one thinks about to see how they connect with people. I love watching how battle rappers move crowds. And I'm kind of in that study phase right now. I love when I get on a stage because I'm getting better at speaking and I'm loving it. I actually think, and I'm going to say this may be controversial, but I think I'm one of the world's best social science speakers now.
I would agree based off of, and I mean, I'm very biased when I'm going to say this because I feel like I have an extra lens into how your mind works. I agree because I know how in depth you go into thinking about stuff. Like when you say you study, I believe you study like Michael Jackson studied James Brown.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Because, yeah.
Yeah, like when I say I'm obsessed, like one of the things right now that I'm obsessed with is how easy it is for women to break up with useless guys if they're using a condom.
What?
Versus if
Wait,
you're not
say
using...
that again. How easy it is for a woman to break up with guys if he's using a condom.
Yes.
Is it because... Wait, what makes him useless? Let's start there.
Let's just say you feel like you're in a partnership with a useless person, but you just kind of stuck.
Okay.
And you know you need to get out.
Yes.
Sometimes the variable that makes it easier to get out is that if he's not ejaculating inside of you.
So is it because of the actual ejaculation, or is it because the woman needed a reason that was not you're actually a bum?
No, it's not psychological, it's biological. There are 52
real?
chemicals and hormones in semen. One of them is vasopressin, a bonding chemical. And it gets into the bloodstream and creates this bonding effect, and you become it becomes very difficult to break away.
And that's why, if I'm to think about it, many men will prefer to not use a condom, not just because they naturally want to plant a seed, but because they understand the bond it creates.
They may not understand it, but you know what happens over time is that we store patterns. And unconsciously you go, she acted this way when I used a condom and she acted this way when I didn't. So unconsciously you've registered, but you don't know how to articulate it.
Look, as a virgin, I can't really relate to this part of the conversation. But that one time I conceived my son, that is
it's deep, right?
Fascinating.
So people talk about people that's sexual, is spiritual. Yes, but it's biological. And if you think about it, if a woman sleeps with 3 or 4 guys, a woman can be promiscuous. You can do whatever you want. I always tell women, do whatever you want. But if you sleep with 3 different guys and they're all ejaculating in you, that's 150 plus hormones and chemicals fighting each other. I'll give you another example. You know that when we ejaculate, there are 3 squirts that often happen. The first one is designed to kill the bacteria.
Is that what is referred to as the pre-cum?
No, the first powerful squirt.
Oh.
It's designed to kill the bacteria, to kill the semen, in case there was another person inside of you.
So what you're saying is biologically, as women, we are designed, and men are designed for us to have potentially been sleeping with someone else.
What I'm saying to you, I want to be very clear.
Timothy!
I am.
The semen knows. Uguti, there was other.
The potential of others is always going to be there. Wow. The potential is always going to be there. It just happens in life, right?
So wait, the first ejaculation is clear the other man or bacteria, antibacteria.
To address if there was another man inside of you.
Okay, what's the second one?
We'll have to do a whole nother podcast.
Do the podcast season, a whole series.
A whole season on this subject alone, because this is my thing. For me, when I study human behavior, I want to know what are the biological influences as well as the psychological influences. Yes. Like, is there trauma bonding effects? Is there intergenerational effects? Did my great-grandmother go through something? My great-grandparents go through something that caused me to be, that I experienced something? Is it biological? And often when we have these conversations, we isolate them and we don't put them into the same.
Yes.
And we have not put this particular variable on the table. And there's a lot of women going around and a lot of men. Because you can imagine this. If a man has sex with 3 women and a woman has sex with 3 guys, there's nothing entering in his fluid. There's nothing going into his bloodstream altering him, which is why he can get up and walk away and forget about you. Whereas if you feel that connection and you're sitting up wondering, looking at your phone, waiting for a message, there's vasopressin altering your perspective about this dude.
Okay, I'm still stuck on the second ejaculation.
Obviously, there's a reason. You tried to connect with this person.
So the second one is baby making / hormones connecting.
Yes.
And the last one is, let's just be sure. Just in case. Is that the last one?
You know what? If you want to follow up on some of this work, read some of Jesse Baring's work. He's written some extraordinary work about chemicals and hormones between one of his books called Perv. I read this book and I was in my late 20s. It still shook me. I gave it to my nephew, and my nephew was like, bro, the world don't know half of this stuff. The raw science of what's driving our connection to other people.
So here's now the first thought that has just come to mind, and I know somebody watching is thinking it. A woman dating you, knowing you know all of this stuff. Do you consent? because you know these things. You know too much. So as a person who knows and understands human behaviors, how it all connects in general, how do you have a moment? It's like, and I'll use the analogy, when I'm watching television, I will pick up like, oh, continuity issue, wardrobe this, yes, my ring fell off, okay, fine, continuity, you got me. So I will see things, meaning I struggle to just truly enjoy a film without constantly thinking about what went into it. Now you deal with human behavior. How are you able to cultivate truly authentic relationships without dissecting? And maybe this question could also be asked of psychologists, where people walk around thinking, don't you psychoanalyze me.
Sure.
But I'm thinking now, I'm like, so this man, he's watching behaviors.
It can be a curse. And I'll give you a practical example of how knowing too much about human behavior can be a curse, and why so many of us are single.
He said us, ladies. Nah.
He said us. Listen, like practically speaking, we have two decision-making brains. And if you are about to be intimate with someone, for example, you've got your conscious mind going, all right, it's time. We've known each other this much time. We have a good rapport. He's a good person. You know, he's a decent, I've Googled him. This is all conscious. Then you've got your unconscious mind, your unconscious decision-making mind, that's 100% feelings. I feel some kind of way. I'm feeling a little anxiety. I'm a little this. And sometimes these two minds are at war. And the question is, who should resolve the war? Is it the woman on her own, or is it you as a man? And many times I've been in a situation where the woman is asking me to resolve it for her so she can feel comfortable about what we're about to do.
I mean, it's also part lack of accountability, because I genuinely believe that our intuitions never fail us if we are in tune with ourselves. So already when you said there's something hesitating, it's only as I've gotten older that I know to listen to the hesitation. I no longer listen to the bad. He was nice, but he paid for dinner. Bad shem, hey, oh sexy. But now it's like if something says no, but I think you have to exercise that muscle.
Yeah, I think it gets a little more. I think the game has changed. You've been out the game a long time. Let me catch you up. You've been out the game.
Sir, there are men sending me money. Calm down.
Okay.
Sending the money.
Okay. I think you can imagine for somebody who just swiped and they connected and they're out at a cafe and they're deciding, because, you know, people are quite straightforward now. I had a friend of mine who went on 50
first dates.
50 first dates, just as almost like a social experiment. She was just like, I'm seeing the same pattern. I just want to know what's up with these guys. She's like, there's like robotic, like the same pitch. You sit down, they do the same. Anyway, but what's happening is that you've got your socialized self, you got your mother's voice in the back of your head going, you should only be doing this, you should only be doing this, this is what a good girl does, I've seen this on TV. You got all of this happening, and then you've got your body, maybe it's during a particular time of the month where your hormones are raging. It's not just intuition. There is sometimes a war happening. I want my pipes clean tonight. Meanwhile, I don't even know this dude. You get my point? So this war and that tension between that war is underestimated. And then you've got people on all extremes of the world who do not have empathy in that war for people. And we judge them. And all we do is push people away. And in my research, I'm starting to have empathy, and I want people to be kinder to themselves in the middle of that war. I want people to be able to stop and breathe and go, just because everything in my body is going crazy, can't even put my legs together, I'm orgasming, I can't even do anything. I want you to have empathy and know to yourself that, step back and say to yourself, just because I went to the church this morning and I'm trying to blow this dude's brain out tonight, doesn't mean I'm a horrible person. These are two fundamentally disconnected parts of your identity at war. And where your spiritual self comes in is in the middle of that war. And the more mature you become, the more your spirituality grows, you're able to navigate in the middle of that war.
So I'm going to then ask you a question, and I'm so glad you broke it down that way, because I do think it is that layered. It is that complex, because you can't tell, especially with women's hormones in particular, when you look at a graph, men are like this on the day-to-day, and women are like this, and then there's possible perimenopause, medication, all kinds of stuff a whole lot of things. And I am all for, I don't know if I've said this before, but be free and do things wholeheartedly, even if you've just known him that day and things are safe. Have your fun, do it guilt-free, like life is short. But I am so curious with, you touched on where spirituality comes in these worlds that are at war. Yin yang. I imagined as you were speaking the angel on the shoulder and the devil
that's a great analogy.
on the shoulder, because that's how Hollywood depicts it when it's all internal. What do you think, from what you observe, with how we are evolving as people, as a human race? What do you think is missing? Because on some levels, I think we are returning to ourselves as a collective. I know as an individual, I'm in a process of just remembering who I am. But what do you think is missing? Because I think so many social ills are just because we're not healed, not even because of capitalism and white supremacy, which play a role. But if those racists were healed, then there wouldn't be white supremacy. If those greedy mofos were healed, then they wouldn't need to hoard so much money.
I want everybody watching this to know you're not missing anything. You're overwhelmed with stimuli. And what that means, let's go back a couple hundred years. Our ancestors, how many people did they come in contact with? There was no phones. They knew the same people in the same village. They were not overwhelmed with stimuli, so they had time to navigate this war.
Oh, and process.
They had process. You'd wake up, they understood nature's role in that process. We are bombarded with stimuli. And so I always say to people, if you really want to understand this intersection in this war, quieten the noise a little bit, just a little bit at a time. Shut down your phone. I'm not saying for the whole day, but start to de-escalate the stimuli. Start to reduce the stimuli little by little. That's why in every spiritual text, from Jesus to everybody, they had to separate themselves from the stimuli. They had to tell the disciples, you go over there. I need to go to the mountain because I need to figure out what's going on.
You know what you just made me think about when you're talking about back in the day? There were no phones, there were not whatever. I think you mentioned a breakup. Can you imagine the reason you find out you're not broken up with is because somebody didn't meet you at that place you walked 5 kilometers to? Instead of a text, I think the breakup text. Imagine getting on a bus to go cross country and the person doesn't meet you because it's over.
Yeah. I mean, just think about the letter. Remember, if you had to send a letter, sitting down and writing that letter, how much healing was it when you could walk through nature on your way back? No distractions on that walk back, right? When you're forced to slow down, you can find the answers a bit easier. And in neuroscience, we call it shutting down the prefrontal cortex, which simply means that your prefrontal cortex is constantly going like this.
Yes.
And in this spin cycle of life where there's so many feeds and you check in so many different platforms, that spin cycle of your prefrontal brain, this front part of your brain, alienates you from the spiritual unconscious dimension where you have the answers. And so the reason why you need to slow this down is to give rise to this other dimension where the spirit can give you revelation. The spirit can give you answers about whether you should do this or not. And I'm telling you, if anybody's going through hell in their life, just slow down a little bit.
Are Black Americans African? And you know why I'm asking the question with the conversations where you have, I think it was Raven Simone, who was saying, I'm not African American, I'm Black American, we're not African.
Let me tell you what's funny is that the Andrew Young, who co-wrote I Have a Dream speech, Dr. Martin Luther King, he's like a godfather to a friend of mine. He did his 23andMe and DNA test. He fought for Africa. He fought for the revolution of African Americans in Africa. He did his test, and a whole lot of his DNA was Native American Indian.
Wow.
Yeah, it's deep. Imagine your whole life, you're just Africa, 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 and then you discover you're more Native. And guys, I'm a big proponent of genes and understanding gene and genealogy. You cannot separate. If you have genes that come from a particular part of the world, you've got to honor that. And the problem is the label does not come with education. And so you've got a whole lot of ignorant people who, like Raven Simone, who probably haven't really spent time. I've been very blessed to travel about 15 African countries. And when you travel this continent and you spend time in rural areas and cities, whether you're in Abidjan, Nairobi, whether you're in Joburg, whether you're in Eastern Cape or wherever you are, you start to see things in yourself. And you cannot deny it.
Does it feel familiar?
It definitely feels familiar. The thing is that it's not about getting off a plane and kissing the ground and going, I'm home.
Wait.
No.
The motherland.
It's about spending time in various cultures, because there are certain cultures I connect with more. And what I've seen over time is that the more you immerse yourself, the more that deeper coding in your genes that has not met. Let me tell you what's interesting. So your intergenerational traumas, like epigenetics. So epigenetics is your softer traits, your trauma and so forth can be passed through generation through a coding in the genes. And so all of us have stuff inside of us that can be lit at any time. You can experience somebody screaming and this trauma inside of you will be triggered.
Yeah.
The same thing happens with cultural identity. That's why travel is so powerful. And that's why travel speaks to people, because you can have this thing inside of you and then you travel to a particular part of the world and it awakens something in you. And it's one of the most beautiful things. It's sad to me that so many African Americans are not exposed to things that awaken the thing inside of them. So there's a disconnect with the label, African American.
Be honest. What percentage of Americans have passports with stamps in them?
It's at some point before we needed one to Canada, there was only 7%. So you can imagine, this is not even that long ago, which means 93% of Americans did not have passports. And I mean, that number has grown.
Because they didn't need to.
They didn't need to. Because I'm telling you, I grew up on a farm in North Carolina. I had family all up and down the East Coast. And I remember growing up as a kid, the first thing you're thinking, I want to go to Disney World. And then after that, I need to go to Los Angeles. And after that, I need to get to New York. So you're just thinking about traveling your own country, right? And I think the more I've been on this continent in Africa, it's like the awakening of traveling this continent has now happened, The
shock for me was more that George W. Bush, former president, I don't know if he's the second or the third, but he only got his passport when he became the president. He had never left the country.
Even Trump hadn't traveled that much. So let me tell you, let me break down both the ignorance and the genius of America.
As a Republican.
Wait, just follow me. The ignorance is because you have so many thriving cities. Let's say, for example, you went on tour as a singer. Let me paint that picture for you. Do you understand how many cities you could go to? You could travel for the entire year touring with your album. There's not much need to leave and become wealthy. Look at how much money Tyler's made going to the States. It's because the market is so massive.
Yeah.
That's the good side. The ignorant side is it isolates you from the world. The funny thing is now seeing that some of these kind of stars that's kind of fallen off, they're a little bit older, like the Maxwells, they're starting to go around the world now. So they'll go to Tokyo, they'll come to South Africa because they've extended the market. They've kind of milked the US.
Yes.
And now they're starting to open up to other markets around the world. That's all it is. It's a market dynamic. And so the market dynamic has created a lot of ignorance. And even I get frustrated. And I haven't said this before. The explosive education that South Africa and Africa has given me across this continent has created almost a trauma response with my own country. It's one of the most horrible feelings to be sitting and talking to your friends and they are blind in their ignorance about this continent. I get emotional and I want to fight. I cannot stand when somebody else I'm speaking to in the States speaks ignorant about this continent or speaks down about a particular region. It rips in me at a level, and my sister, they have to calm me down. Like if I go home to visit my family and we at a restaurant and there's a joke that comes up and we're talking about South Africa or Namibia or any country, and there's a joke, I because this country is giving me too much. This continent is giving me too much. And I know that ignorance is dangerous.
But I want to say, because instinctually this is what came to mind, I feel like Africa is not the gift for everybody. I mean, some visitors come and they give and are appreciative, and other visitors come and they take. And maybe because I'm getting to a point in my life where what people think about me or us doesn't matter as much as it used to.
Yeah.
We are still in the phase of our lives of like, we grew up being exposed to American media.
Yeah.
Our things were so few. Yes, thank you, generations,
Yeah.
But we grew up with Brooke and Ridge and all of that, where that is what we're exposed to. So it was always this amazing place. I feel like us as millennials are going through grief from the realization that this better, this shiny, flawed place where amazing things happen is not what we thought it was. So now we almost have to reconstruct what the bigger looks like. Yeah. And I'm realizing it's here at home. We have to build whatever that is.
Like the polygamist. Like, I am shocked. I'm getting calls every day. People are obsessed with South Africa. And what that's doing is introducing them to other series.
Yes.
That's been my favorite part of the success of The Polygamist, is that my sister, cousins, everybody's calling now about, oh, have you checked out this other series now?
Good.
Right? If somebody hears a song from an artist, what do? They go look for their other work.
Yes.
And that's what's happened with South Africa. South Africa is putting out so much extraordinary content. And not just South Africa. I mean, you find Nigeria's putting out movies that are compelling people. But it's unbelievable how much people are now digging into the history of an amazing... So you're right, that flip is really happening in a beautiful way now.
I have to ask, I mean, you mentioned Tyler and you mentioned your neurosurgeon friend who's colored. And I think you are in the perfect position to have a view on it because you understand both worlds. Now, as South Africans, it is so normal, right? However, let's say the roles were reversed, because I had to think about it in my mind, and someone came here saying, no, I'm a K-word. That's just what I am at home. That's my culture. I can imagine it being a visceral reaction of, but before you came here, you should have understood how sensitive the word is. And I love Tyler. I love her work. I love what she's doing. She's flying our flag high. I'm curious, based on your experience on both sides, what your view is on how things could have, if they even should have, happened slightly differently. But I also am acutely aware that this online hate or dislike of her does not necessarily reflect real life. Again, it's algorithms.
Yeah, I mean, that touched people some kind of way. You know, I'll give you a practical story. So when I was right out of school, I worked in retail, and there was this Italian woman who was one of the salespeople on the floor, and she called the assistant manager, a black guy, colored.
Mm.
There was a full-on fight, and she got fired.
Mm.
And the emotion that day, I'll never forget as long as I live, that the hurt, they had to bring in a psychologist and talk to him about him being called that.
Mm.
Now you can imagine, if it's that deep, that on some level there has to be a process that honors her and honors the desire for the market to connect with her.
Mm.
She's the first to do it, so there is no blueprint. And so she went in as authentic as she knew how. Her team tried to figure it out, but there was no one. So part of the reason why I've developed a bit of empathy for that situation, just as no one has ever done it before. So there was no way of knowing what the right way was. In retrospect, it would have been really cool if she had recorded something on one of the big platforms like BET, and they just sat down and got to know each other and made that a big viral moment where she got a chance to share some cool stuff about her background, and Americans got a chance to share some stuff about the pain, and then they edited that up into a nice piece to show her engaging. But that's all in,
In retrospect. Because I feel like the bumping of heads all comes back to people asking to be seen.
Yes.
She wants to be seen, and Americans want to be seen. And I don't think all is lost. I think, as you said, more people are catching on to what South Africa is about.
Yes.
And eventually they'll realize that we use the word colored so often. But I never asked you, the first time you got here and you heard somebody saying, "This is my colored friend," how did that make you feel?
I was lucky in that this person that I met in the States had educated me already. And so much of it is just education, right? So much of it is being able to learn in knowledge and so forth. And I think because of my work, I'm really big on anthropology and understanding cultural and systems and so forth. It was very different for me, but I will say there's a lot of Americans who do come here who struggle with it. And I think that's one of the reasons why there's so few well-known, successful public figures that are American. Have you ever thought about that?
Wait, say that again. So few well-known, successful
public figures in South Africa that are American. Think about that.
You mean that came and settled here?
Or just became a public person, well-known in the public. Think about how few there are. And there's a reason for that. And the same thing happens the opposite way. That's why I respect Trevor Noah and Tyler and all of it. Do you know how hard it is to go into another market and ask for people to give a about you?
Especially because America's what? Have you guys passed 300 million?
Yeah, but just think about it. There's other talented people. Whenever I'm on your podcast or Metro FM or there are other people who could have been on that. And why should they care about me as some random American person, right? And so for you to get to that stage where the public wants you in, you've got to give a damn about the place you're in. You've got to genuinely be interested and curious. If you come in going as an American that I think I know everything and I'm going to come and teach South Africa stuff, South Africa will chew you up and spit you out. You know how many, and I know because I know a bunch of Americans have come in, tried to make it happen, tried to do the media thing, and got sent back packing.
So what did you do right that others didn't do, other than hips?
That's funny. That's funny. I'll tell you a story. Remember Bob Mabena?
Yes. The late, may his soul rest in peace.
Rest in peace. This man was special. When I first came here, I did not know anything. And I remember that I had started a mentorship program back in the States. And I wanted to mentor some kids in kind of leadership and this type of stuff. And I met these 3 kids. One of them was, I think his name was Takalani. I can't remember the right, I used to call him T. And he happened to be one of Bob's sort of sons that he had sort of taken in. And I remember, and this sums up my entire journey here, that I was headed out to kind of a Soweto and Orlando West, just kind of working with these kids, having a good time, also learning at the same time. And then he says, I think my Uncle Bob would think you were cool, so he introduced me. And then Bob asked me to be on his show. That's how I started my media presence. So it starts with you giving a damn. It starts with you actually integrating yourself into society. It starts with you listening. And I think too many people come here thinking they have answers first. And those 3 young men taught me more about this country than I could have ever. I couldn't learn it in school. They would spend time with me. I would do my little mentorship part, and then they would end up mentoring me back.
Yes.
And that story, I'll never forget when I went to Home Affairs. No, I'm crazy for telling this story, but I'm going to tell it. I remember I went and I was just trying to figure out my whole situation. And those 3 boys and me were on the cover of the Star newspaper that day I went. Because the story happened with Bob, and it's ended up in the newspaper that I was helping these kids. And the day I went there, this woman, she looked at me. She looked down, and she was like, I want to fight for you to be here. And I remember thinking to myself that there's nothing I could have done to go in and receive that kind of love from someone. And so it's just been that kind of journey for me, is that if you give, you care, you really want to be involved, and you really want to learn, then people will accept you.
What is your hope for America being your home?
It's 250 years.
Yep. What is your hope for it? Considering, irrespective of the conversations online, when Donald Trump sneezes, we all have to grab tissues and umbrellas. But what is your hope for the U.S.?
I got into a big fight on July 4th with my niece, who's anti-American, who's American, never been out of the country. And she's anti-American, and she's married to a Haitian. And you remember Mr. Trump and the Haitians, he's telling them they're eating dogs and cats. They can't stand Trump. And I got into a big fight because I said, despite all of the chaos, all of the drama, there's a pulse there that's trying. We went wrong by being extreme in capitalism and consumerism, and it forces you to water down your values. When everything is about profit, you start not giving a damn about the people. And I really hope that the rest of the world learns from that you cannot obsess so much about profit that you stop listening to people, you stop caring about people, you stop really genuinely. And I hope that America's going in this direction. China and other countries, India, South Africa, other countries are rising. I hope in that kind of rebalancing of the world that we go back to our basics where we're actually trying. I think Barack Obama was a good example, and he would say things like, we're trying to figure it out. And what made America strong in those times is that we were trying. Sometimes the system would just break your back, and then you would make horrible decisions trying to recover. But we were trying.
It might seem controversial that I'm directing this question specifically for you, but technically you do qualify to answer. Are South Africans xenophobic?
You know, it's funny. I watched a YouTube clip because it's something that I'm really passionate about, actually. So I'm glad you asked. I don't know if you remember. Do you remember this? Years ago, there was this xenophobia campaign. It was me, Lyra, a bunch of us. It was a song called Together.
This sounds like it might have been early 2000s.
It was one of the first big bouts. When I first came here, I was in the newspapers a lot. I was on media with Bob, and we did this campaign. It was me. Ask Lyra about it.
I will.
Yeah, she was on it. If you Google it, it was a fascinating. So I followed this thing very closely, and I think that, again, it goes back to the economic conditions that if foreigners are here illegally, it breaks the back of the momentum of the growth post-apartheid. And it's a systemic problem that causes people in survival mode to have to take a posture. And I don't know what the answers are. I can tell you that some of the brightest people I know, the most Black conscious people I know, are gripped in, we need to embrace our brothers and sisters, but I don't know if we can.
Or maybe it is, we need to embrace our brothers and sisters the moment, and maybe it's even to say, we need to embrace our cousins the moment we've dealt with our children. We're ready to embrace our nieces and nephews, but right now, can we fix our household?
Yes.
And the reason why I specifically asked that question, obviously from a human behavioral perspective, is these things come up, I almost want to say seasonally, but the problems have existed consistently.
Yeah.
So I'm always curious about what the instigation really is, without going into any conspiracy theories. Unemployment has been terrible for long. The economy hasn't been, you know, I miss the days of 5 rand to the dollar, you know. So I was curious from your perspective, being an American. I don't think, and I highly doubt you've met any South Africans who said to you, go home. But I also think there are the nuances about certain specific groups and social classes and things like that. My final question is, what is your hope for this country that has really become your other home?
Yeah. You know, I think South Africa is a social innovation hub of the world. And all that really means to me is that there's more money spent on helping, developing people. Corporates are forced to spend a certain percentage of their money on social investments. There's the highest percentage of developmental budget in the world trying to solve problems. I hope South Africa continues to lead in that area and that we're able to create an entrepreneurial culture that helps break through. I can tell you now that I probably will get canceled for what I'm about to say.
And he's been canceled already twice in this conversation.
But the culture here is not very welcoming for young entrepreneurs. You know, payments, system, people not paying late, this type of stuff. And I've seen so many young people that I mentor have to give up and go get a job or try to look for a job because they had this dream and then people just don't honor it with systems. And I hope that people start honoring the young brilliance of young entrepreneurs by paying on time, by expediting processes so that people can get on with their life, so they can feed people, so they can grow. And if governments, if big businesses start to embrace the brilliance of South African young people by honoring them through systems and payments and so forth, I think we can get through this.
There's something we do on the show that I love.
Okay.
I'm obsessed with cards. It's not tarot. This is actually a new deck that I will tell you after why I got this deck. But all it is you're just going to pick a card just based on whatever you feel.
Okay.
Okay, don't look at it.
Okay.
And you're going to give it to me.
Okay. Drum roll.
What do you know you need to do that you don't want to start?
Having really hard conversations about my parents. They had that chapter of their life. And, I need to sit down with my sister, start having these really, really hard conversations. Part of the reason why it's so hard is my father and I didn't really get along when I was younger. And now we have a good relationship. And it just feels unfair at times that it could be cut short based on age. We have this thing now where we play pool together when I'm home. We have the little tournaments, and I can see he's getting really feeble. He's struggling to hold the pool stick. And funny, he's only been here once. And I invited him and my mother to South Africa, and that's when we became close. He initially didn't even really want to come. And we just had this tense relationship. We had a fight when I was 18, fist fight. He kicked me out of the house. And I know that our healing is so much part of my peace. And knowing that he may not be around that much longer and having to start that conversation, it's just, it's tough.
May this be a message.
Thank you.
And I hope you receive it with love and light.
Thank you very much.
And do what you need to when you need to do it.
And thank you.
I am so grateful that you came to the show. I could talk to you forever. Literally, this is how our conversations go. Your mind is brilliant. Please keep inspiring, and please keep being that connector of people, of worldviews. Keep studying our behaviors. And then we need to launch a podcast called The Third Ejaculation.
Thank you. Thank
Timothy
you so much.
Maurice Webster, ladies and gentlemen, put your questions for him down below, and also subscribe and hit the notification bell, and also let us know who you want to see next on the podcast. Thank you for joining us. Till next time.